Hi, this is Warren Carr of the Blind Android Users Podcast. For episode 104 App of the Week, I am demonstrating the just released app by Google called Reading Mode. For today's demonstration, I'll be utilizing my Pixel 7 Pro with Android 13 QPR1 and TalkBack 13.0. For the TTS engine, I'll be using the Voice Variant 6 from the Google Speech Services. I will be demonstrating reading mode. Before we get to the reading mode, though, let me talk about what it is and what it isn't. The whole idea about the app is to make it easy for you to read articles on web pages and other articles without those graphics that sometimes tend to obstruct the text. That's what reading mode is all about. I am on my home screen now and will navigate to the icon for reading mode and activate it.
Reading mode.
Here is reading mode. I'll tap here to activate.
Reading mode. Reading mode turns long content from apps or websites into a format that's easier to read. Customize the font and spacing, hear content read aloud, choose your preferred reading speed, and more.
And toward the bottom of that, we have the Continue button. I'll put my finger down and tap on that Continue button.
Continue button. Set up a shortcut for reading mode.
And
To get started, 1. Go to Settings. 2. Turn on the shortcut. 3. Tap Reading Mode shortcut to choose whether you want to tap a button, use a gesture, or hold volume keys. Then, when you're reading an app or website, you can open Reading Mode with the shortcut.
in other words, we need to go to the Accessibility Settings area to enable reading mode. After enabling reading mode, though, we can assign a gesture to it or simply allow that little floating bar or button to be found near the bottom right of the last item on our dock. I will go ahead and now tap on that settings found near the bottom to go enable that from the accessibility settings.
Settings button. Accessibility. Navigate up button.
Upon tapping on that settings, we have been taken to the accessibility settings area. I will now scroll down, find and tap on reading mode.
Reading mode off.
Here is reading mode, and we are told reading mode off. We'll need to tap here to go enable it.
Reading mode. Navigate up button out of list.
We are now on a page where we could enable reading mode. I'll put my finger down and move on down from here.
Reading mode shortcut off.
We hear reading mode shortcut is off, and below that,
Shortcut settings switch off.
we have another switch that says shortcut settings off, and below that,
Settings.
we have something here called settings, which is not so much of the settings that you're thinking of, because if we tap here, all that will happen will take us to a place where we'll see things like feedback and stuff like that. Here's what I'm talking about.
Reading mode settings. Navigate up button out of list.
Put my finger down.
Send feedback in list.
We hear send feedback, and below that,
Open source licenses.
open source licenses. That's all you get here. I'll go back to the previous screen though, because that's where our business is.
Reading mode. Settings in list.
Now I'll move my finger back upward and enable that first switch that we encountered.
Shortcut settings switch off.
Shortcut settings, switch off. We need to tap here to enable that.
Off. Allow reading mode to have full control of your device. Full control is appropriate for apps that help you with accessibility needs, but not for most apps. Out of list.
Tapping on that, we hear the classic dialogue about whether or not we need to enable this app to have accessibility settings. And of course, since we're going to be using it, we'll have to. And so we could either tap on allow or do not allow. In this case, though, I'm going to tap on the allow button.
Allow button.
tap here.
Use gesture to open. To use this feature, swipe up from the bottom of the screen with 3 fingers. To switch between features, swipe up with 3 fingers and hold.
Here we heard it say to use gestures, you can enable it and swipe from the bottom with 3 fingers. Now, if you don't want to use that, though, you could reassign that to something else, and we're going to be touching on that and showing you how to do that. You can also allow the button, which is the accessibility button, and that will say reading mode, or you could even assign the holding down of the 2 volumes to enable reading mode. But there's no need to do that since we use those 2 volume keys for enabling and disabling TalkBack.
Got it button.
And we tap on Got It.
Reading mode. Shortcut settings, switch on in list.
And now above that, the first item,
Reading mode shortcut, accessibility gesture.
it says reading mode accessibility shortcut. And this is where you can change it. If I tap here,
Use accessibility gesture, checkbox, checked, swipe up from the bottom of the screen with 3 fingers. To switch between features, swipe up with 3 fingers and hold. More options.
and or
Hold volume keys, checkbox, not checked, press and hold both volume keys.
hold volume keys,
Cancel button.
cancel, or
Save button.
save found there at the bottom right.
Reading mode. Reading mode shortcut, accessibility gesture, in list.
Now I'm going to go back.
Accessibility. Reading mode, shortcut on, in list. Showing items 1 to 11 of 36.
Now, if you prefer using the button over a gesture or using the volume keys, then we scroll down to the bottom from this accessibility area and tap on accessibility shortcut. Here's what I'm talking about.
Accessibility shortcuts.
And we go ahead and tap here.
Accessibility shortcuts. Navigate up, button, out of list. Accessibility button and gesture, quickly access accessibility features.
We go ahead and tap here.
Accessibility button and gesture, navigate up, button, out of list.
And moving my finger down,
Quickly access accessibility features from any screen, in list. Use button or gesture, gesture.
we here use button or gesture, and the one that's selected is gesture. If I tap here,
Use button or gesture, button, in list.
we got button
Gesture, checked.
and gestures checked. So if I want that button, I'll tap on button, and that would place a button on my home screen to the right of the last app on my dock that will say reading mode. But for now, I'm going to leave it on the gesture because that is easier in the sense that if you allow that reading mode button to appear there at the bottom right of the last item of your dock, what happens is that it tends to overlay the last item, and you will need to do a swipe movement to find that item. You're not going to find it if you don't swipe. For example, I have on my dock, the last item on my dock is the camera app, and to the left of that camera app is my password manager. If I enable this button, what happens is that at the bottom right of my screen, to the right of that camera, will be the reading mode, and it will overlay that camera to where I cannot find it using Explore by Touch. I have to swipe from Password Manager right to here it says camera. Now that you understand what I'm talking about, let's now go on and reassign this to something else. So in other words, if you do not like using 3 fingers to swipe from the bottom to invoke this reading mode, we could go into TalkBack settings and reassign it to something else. Here's what I'm talking about. And I'm just going to exit out of here and go back home, or simply bring the TalkBack menu from here as well. I'll just tap with 3 fingers to bring up the TalkBack menu.
TalkBack menu. Navigation in list.
And now I'm going to tap on TalkBack Settings.
Talkback settings.
Tap on TalkBack Settings.
Talkback settings. Navigate up button out of list.
After tapping on TalkBack Settings, the next item we want to tap on will be Gestures or Customize Gestures.
Customize gestures.
Here is Customize Gestures. I'll tap here.
One finger back and forth, heading in list.
And now we need to go change or reassign something to launching this reading mode. I'm going to go to the four-finger gestures heading because those are the ones I use the least. And so I'm going to go into the four-finger heading.
One finger angle, heading.
Keep going.
Showing items. Two fingers, heading.
Keep
Showing items
going.
17 to 20. Double tap with three fingers. Showing items 35 to 44 of 51.
All right.
Four fingers, heading.
Here is four-finger. And now here are the items we have in the four-finger heading.
Tap with four fingers, practice gestures. Double tap with four fingers, open tutorial. Double tap and hold with four fingers, pass through system gesture. Triple tap with four fingers, tap to assign.
I have one here, triple tap with four fingers. Nothing has been assigned to it, and it's unassigned for the moment. I'm going to assign that to invoking my reading mode. In other words, if I want to call up the reading mode, I simply will triple tap with four fingers. So I'm going to tap here.
Triple tap with four fingers. Tap to assign, checked, in list. Showing items 1 to 16 of 59.
And now I'm going to scroll down toward the bottom and find under the heading that says
System actions, heading.
System Actions. And that's where we're going to find where we could assign this to the accessibility shortcut. Here's what we got.
Home.
We got Home,
Back.
Back,
Overview. Notifications. Quick settings. All apps. Accessibility shortcut.
Here is Accessibility Shortcut. I'll tap here to assign it to Accessibility Shortcut.
Talkback settings. Triple tap with four fingers, accessibility shortcut, in list. Showing
Now,
items 42 to
I have
51.
assigned the triple tapping to invoking the Accessibility Shortcut, which invokes the reading mode. Now I'll exit out of here back to my home screen.
Home. Thursday,
I
December.
am back on my home screen, and now I'll go to the left home page, that is the Google Feed
Mostly
page,
cloudy, 27.
and I'm going to swipe from left to right to go to that page.
Home. Button, Costa Rica, 2, versus 4, Germany, heading.
So here's something about the just concluded games for today from the World Cup. And I'm going to scroll down.
Showing items. Button, last call for salmon on Southwest Washington rivers, heading. Showing
There we go. There's something about the last call for salmon on the Washington rivers. I'm going to tap here.
Chrome. Loading. Last 80%. View simplified page. Option available near top of the screen.
Now, since I have assigned that triple tap with four fingers to launch the accessibility shortcut, which in turn opens up the reading mode, I will now triple tap with four fingers. 1, 2, 3.
Reading mode. Hide reading mode, button, close.
Reading mode has come up. I'll put my finger down.
Can't read this content. Content with multiple paragraphs of text, like articles, usually work best. Try opening reading mode from another app or website. Reading mode works best in English, French, Italian, and Spanish.
In other words, we come across an article that cannot be read using this mode. I'll go back and try to find something else.
Chrome.
Go back.
Button, the food Costco. Showing items 5 to 7 of 12. Button, more wintry weather on the way for Oregon, heading.
Here's something about Oregon, because we're having a lot of snow here. Let's tap on this one.
Chrome. 46%. View simplified page.
And now I'm going to triple tap again with 4 fingers.
Reading mode. Hide reading mode, button, close. Pop-up window. Reading mode makes long content easier to navigate, read, and listen to.
And that's near the top, and if I move my finger down,
Tab, selected, 1 of 3, in list, 3 items.
we encounter 3 tabs, and the one that's selected by default is the one that's showing the article, and to the right of that,
Tab, 2 of 3.
there's another tab that says 2 of 3,
Tab, 3 of 3.
and there's the last one. If I move my finger down,
More wintry weather on the way for Oregon. While lower elevations will see very limited snow showers, people traveling through the gorge, the Cascade Passes and the Coast Range should prepare for snow sticking around on roadways through at least Sunday. Heavy wind and rain tapered off in the Portland metro area Wednesday morning, but they've already caused widespread power outages and traffic issues.
I just wave my finger over the proximity sensor to shut it off. Now, toward the bottom, we've got some 3 buttons. From the left, we've got the settings button, and then in the middle, there's the play button, and to the right of that, on the bottom right, is the one that talks about some text settings. Here's what I'm talking about, starting from the bottom left.
Settings, button.
And moving my finger to the right in the middle, we encounter,
Play, button.
and to the right of that,
Text size, button.
text size. Let's go ahead and tap on the play. That's the button that's in the middle. Tapping on that play button turns that button to the pause button.
More wintry play, button. Text size, button. Play, button.
I'll tap here.
Pause, button. Pop-up window. Tap to skip to the next sentence. Touch and hold to skip to the next paragraph.
More wintry weather on the way for Oregon. While lower elevations will see very limited snow showers, people traveling through the gorge, the Cascade Passes and the Coast Range should prepare for snow sticking around on roadways through at least Sunday. Heavy wind and rain tapered off in the Portland metro area Wednesday morning,
Now
but they've
gonna
already
tap
caused
on the
widespread
pause
power
button,
outages and
or
traffic
simply
issues.
tap with 2 fingers
US
to pause
26
it.
has reopened after downed power lines.
Pause, button, window reading mode.
Lines were cleared from the roadway between the Sylvan over.
Play, button. Pop-up window. Reading mode makes long content easier to navigate.
And I just stopped it. Now, the one thing that I really don't like about this is the fact that if I were reading or listening to an article like the one we're just listening to, and should I decide to shut off the screen, what happens is that it will silence the reading. In other words, you cannot read your article with your screen shut off. Here's what I'm talking about. I'll double tap with 2 fingers to resume reading.
Overpass in the Vista Ridge Tunnel. US 30 is closed about halfway between Astoria and Clatskanie due to a landslide. Traffic officials
Now,
Wednesday morning
I'm gonna
had no
shut off
estimate
the
for when
screen.
that highway would reopen.
Screen off, ringer silent.
I just shut off the screen, and that silences my reading. And that's what I don't like about it. Now, I'm going to go back to the settings. That's the one that's found on the bottom left corner so that we could see what is contained in the settings.
Settings, button.
Here is that settings. I'll tap here.
Settings. Hide settings, button, close.
We heard that same familiar hide settings button near the top. I'll put my finger down in the middle of the phone.
Display, tab, selected, 1 of 2, in list, 2 items.
We have 2 tabs. We got display, which is selected by default, and to the right of that, an all-important item that says
Audio, tab, 2 of 2.
audio tab, and that's probably the most important one to you and I. I'll tap here to activate the audio tab.
Audio, selected.
Now that I've activated the audio tab, below there we have
Display, tab, 1 of 2. Reading speed, out of list.
we have reading speed, and below reading speed we got 3 buttons. We've got,
Decrease reading speed, button.
and to the right of that,
Reading speed 1x.
reading speed 1x. You could tap here to go increase the speed, and the last button to the right of that is
Increase reading speed, button.
increase the reading speed. Now, below this, starting from the left, we've got
Reading voice.
reading voice. And below reading voice, we've got
English United States 1. Drop-down list for reading voice.
English United States Voice 1. Below that, we've got
Tutorial button.
tutorial. And the last item here is
Send feedback button.
send that feedback. Let's go back though and tap on the drop down for the voice variants.
English United States 1. Drop-down list for reading voice.
I'll tap here.
English United States 1. Pop-up window. English United States 1 in list.
So we hear English United States Voice 1.
English United States 2.
That's 2.
English United States 3.
3.
English United States 4.
4. Next.
English United Kingdom 1.
We're now down to English United Kingdom. So there are 4 voice variants for the United States. And the next item,
English United Kingdom 2.
English United Kingdom 2. And that's the last item that we have. So in total, there are 4 English United States voice variants to the 2 for the United Kingdom. That would conclude this short demonstration of the reading mode. Our co-host, John Dyer, will be doing a more in-depth look at this app, especially from the low vision usage viewpoint. So if you're low vision and you would like to be able to use those colors and things like that, John would be demonstrating this and will be posting that sometime on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.